guys, welcome to Light Screening, the channel for movie lovers more than movie savvies. Have you guys seen Joker yet? Well, if you haven't, please just go watch it, because then we can actually talk, because there's a lot to say about this movie. So for those of you living under a rock that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Joaquin Phoenix movie about the mastermind of crime in Gotham City, the arch enemy of Batman, the Lord of Laughter, the most fabulous villain ever written, the crazy clown. I have a soft spot for Joker, and we'll get there. So I'm going to try to get the technical stuff out of the way, so that we can actually talk about the implications this movie has in society, or the issues that it raises, in the discussion that it raises politically, socially, because I think art honestly should make us look at ourselves and make us look at the world. And so I wouldn't like to just talk about movies in the technical sense. I would like to discuss the issues that they raise. So this is a perfect movie for that. Let me tell you right now that it's the right moment for a movie like this. But let's talk about the technical issues. I don't have to talk to you about Joaquin Phoenix, I think, or Robert De Niro. I don't think you argue with me when I say that they are great performers, great actors, and it's just amazing. Maybe I should talk about Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, if you know him and if you know the stuff that he's made, he takes chances. You know, he just plunges into characters and he takes incredible chances. And this is an assessment that I made. I think it has to do with his own reputation as a person and as an artist. We give him that freedom and we give him the credibility to go with him in the chances that he takes. So not all actors, and even if they are great actors and if they are great artists, have a reputation that allows us to believe what they are doing and to give them that credit. Okay, and that I think has to do with the personal reputation of the artist, not as much of about the work that the artist does. And we have a lot to say about Jokers over the time, okay? And maybe we should right now. So there were, you'll probably correct me, but before Heath Ledger, there were two known Jokers, Cesar Romano and Jack Nicholson, I believe. Jack Nicholson did Joker when movies in the style of cinema was a little more black and white. I mean, villains were villains, good guys were good guys, and it doesn't have to do with the ability as an actor, but it has to do with the way that the character is written, and I've seen it. It's pretty black and white. I mean, he's a villain, okay? It doesn't have the human interest that the other movies after that have. And the other movies after that were obviously The Dark Knight, and I have to say right now, that movie I think is one of the best ever. And if you've seen more than one of my videos, you know that I am not a superhero fan, so I watched it with a little bit of reservations. And then, and it's just amazing, and this villain is just amazing, and from that performance on, the movie is absolutely incredible. That surprised me, the villain surprised me, the writing surprised me, I developed a soft spot for Joker in that movie, because it's hard not to stay on his side, and I'll get into that later. So, Heath Ledger just put the bar right up there, you know. It was a human character, and then you have let's stop there, and then you have Jared Leto in Suicide Squad. I think it was misunderstood. I think he's taking a lot of heat because of this performance. I think he did a great job. I think Joker wasn't present enough for the buzz that it originated, and we didn't see enough of his work, and the editing was really, I think, was made it as if it wasn't as consistent as the work that he's done. And I'm saying this because I know this character, and from the moment that I saw The Dark Knight on, and especially when I heard about Suicide Squad, I actually have notifications about Joker and about the character. So I think it's the best villain ever written, because it's justified, it's human, it's comes from human flaws. This movie, and we still didn't get into the technical issues of this movie. This movie, Joaquin Phoenix, this is not a movie about Gotham City. This is not a movie about Batman. This is a human movie. It has nothing to do with saving the world. It has to do with saving yourself. It has to do with a human story. And this is one hell of a movie. And we finally see Joker as a human being, as a person, mental illness or not. I think the mental illness, I wouldn't say it's a detail because it's important for the character to feel like an outcast and all of that. But there are outcasts that have nothing to do with mental illness. More than that, we are all mentally ill, or we tend to be, because society's a bitch, okay? So I understand why, this is still an intro. I understand why it's sold out everywhere and people are going in flocks to see it, okay? After getting a ticket, I was in line to get into the movie theater, and this is in Portugal, people. I mean, you know, probably in the United States, you get the publicity and the buzz a lot bigger than here. This is Portugal. I was in line to get into the movie theater, okay? A huge line after I got a ticket, because it's sold out. It's pretty much sold out in the main hours. So this is what this is an intro to what I'm about to say for the rest about this movie. Technical issues, as I said. Well, obviously Joaquin Phoenix, well, he takes risks. He just jumps in. He does stuff that are not even, I don't even know where he gets it from. He's gonna get an Oscar nomination. Probably he's gonna get the Oscar. I mean, if he doesn't, who will? You know, hands down. The director is Todd Phillips. He did War Dogs, The Hangover 1, 2, and 3. Due Date. This is I've seen a lot of movies from this director. I didn't expect him to go so dark. It was hinted, all his movies have a little bit of darkness, but it's a little bit more sarcastic, maybe, not in visual terms. This movie is dark, people. Dark. It's dark in the writing, it's dark in the story, it's dark in the cinematography. I don't mean objectively, but you know, it's dense, it's difficult to watch. Don't expect it to be easy, because it's highly entertaining. And then I'm going to talk about the writing as well. Let's jump into that. It's Todd Phillips and Scott Silver who wrote it. Todd Phillips, again, he wrote War Dogs, he wrote Borat, he wrote The Hangover 2 and 3, Starsky and Hutch, Due Date. These are all feel-good movies, not feel-good movies, but funny movies. You know, this is not a funny movie. This is dense. This is dark, okay? The Fighter and 8 Mile were written by Scott Silver. I have to talk about the writing, and I have to talk about all the technical issues, because this is an orchestra that worked, okay? They all are playing the same tune. It all contributes to the same feeling. And the writing is sometimes, I wouldn't say that this is a sort of bio. You get to know Joker until he becomes the mastermind of crime in Gotham City. You get to know the reasons behind that, behind those choices, behind that character. And this is not, however, a society far, far away, or a planet far, far away. What do I mean by this? And why do I think the writing is pretty damn good in this one? It follows a sort of chronologic story about his disappointments and all that, but then it constantly reminds you that we're not talking about a society far away or a planet far away. They're talking about our society right now, okay? And there are little hints all over this script in this direction. I'm going to give you one example. The rich people of Gotham City at some point, Thomas Wayne, the father of Bruce Wayne, Batman, Thomas Wayne at some point, and his fellows, and his wife and whatever, they're watching in a movie theater, they're watching Modern Times by Chaplin. So this is a little detail, but it's a big detail. I'm not going to explain it. I'll leave it to you to interpret if you know what I'm talking about. And there are little hints like this, you know. The times don't really change. I mean, there are the slaves and there are the other ones, okay? And this is a society right now. And there are little hints that keep reminding you of that. And so I think it was very well crafted in all aspects. Cinematography. Lawrence Sher did cinematography. She did Godzilla, War Dogs, Due Date, Hangovers. Cinematography, it also contributes to this feeling of darkness, this, and I don't mean objectively, I mean there is always a feeling of being an outcast, of lack of comfort, of being the underdog, you know. Everything contributes to this feeling. The art direction, Laura Bellinger, The Fighter, The Greatest Showman, I think it was the first Step Up that she did, Brokeback Mountain. This is an experienced person who did the art direction, the objects, the sets, the colors, they contribute to this feeling of disencouragement, of inadequacy. It's just exquisite, seriously. Costume design as well. I mean, I checked Mark Bridges, who did costume design. I checked the list of what he's done, and it's endless. You got There Will Be Blood, Jason Bourne, Captain Phillips, 50 Shades of Grey, The Artist, that beautiful film, The Fighter, Blow, 8 Mile. It's endless. So it's flawless, okay? Editing. It takes skills to edit a movie like this, because again, you have places that Joaquin is just flying, you know, and it takes care to do something like this. You have long scenes and Joaquin is just flying with that character. And Jeff Groth did the editing. He did War Dogs, he did Entourage on TV. I have to say these names, and I should say a lot more of them, because they all contribute to the same feeling. It's an orchestra that plays the same tune. The movie is just flawless, you know. It's got a line, and everybody feels it and everybody follows it, and it's great to see. Okay. I have to now talk, and that's the point of this channel. I mean, that's the point of art. We have to talk about what this movie means. And why is it sold out? Because it's today's society, okay? There is a cleavage between rich and poor, and it's becoming harder to climb that wall. And mental illness or not, okay? I don't think, well, unless you're speaking about depression, everybody at some point is diagnosed with depression these days, or most people are in the Western world. But anyway, call it depression, call it whatever Joker has. Mental illness does not determine that you're an outcast. It helps, but there are other outcasts without the mental illness, and it's the same for everybody. The support is being cut off. Government is not taking responsibility for the weakest members of society, whether they stay there a whole life or just a period of their lives. Quite frankly, the period of life when people are hopeless and lost everything, it's becoming longer. It's becoming more frequent to have people under the line of poverty. People are feeling these struggles. This is not the reason that people are feeling movie theaters. It's because they are feeling as he feels. And I have to say, when I saw The Dark Knight, I understood that about this character, and that took me by surprise to think, oh wait, oh, I get him. This didn't surprise me as much, but most people are probably going to see Joker, actually see Joker for the first time ever, because this is not a movie that is about a superhero. So people are going to see a drama, they are going to see a bio, they are going to see Joker, and they are going to be surprised, and they are getting surprised, and I get the buzz, but identifying with this character. We, even if we have 3 jobs, we are not being able to pay for a house. Our parents did, we don't, okay? We are having struggles that we couldn't imagine in the last generation. There are no jobs. The jobs are badly paid. People are getting hopeless. People are actually going into meds, getting depressed, getting mental illnesses. We struggle and we struggle and we struggle, and we don't get anywhere. We don't get to comfort even. I'm not talking about being rich. I'm talking about being comfortable, okay? The paradox is changing. Capitalism is changing, and this change is being very hard on the underdog, all right? And somebody asked a question. Somebody asked Joaquin Phoenix a question in a press conference. And again, I get the notifications about this movie. So they asked him, and I'm pretty sure that he couldn't answer because he was bound by contracts, and he couldn't answer that. It was a serious question. They asked him if he thinks that the movie could be igniting society and could be the fuel to start a revolution, or at least more mass shootings in the United States and stuff like that, because people would feel fueled and justified to do so and to resort to violence. He didn't answer it, but let's talk about that for a while. When you are polite and correct and human and kind, and the answer from society and from people around you is always harsh in the meaning, always harsh in the meaning. And let me say this by personal experience. When you are all this and you are human and you are kind, it's a harsh world out there, okay? And there is a moment there when you do feel like a victim, whether it's justified or not. It's very hard. It's very easy to feel like a victim because people are hard. They don't take a second look at you. People have goals, and their goals are so depressing and so frustrating that they don't get them, and they take it out on everybody. And people are angry, and when you are in that register of being a victim, it's very hard to rise above it. You know, it's very hard to transcend it. And when you are in that register, you just get, people sense it. It's like dogs sense fear. Well, people sense weakness, and they step on you. And they step on you, and they step on you, and they step on you. And I've seen it happen more than once, and I felt it. I rose above it, I think, you know, and I was able to keep being kind and keep being polite and keep being correct. But even so, you still get the harsh, and you still get the fucked up answers everywhere. And you still, if you have a sense of criticism, you wonder, what the fuck is the government doing? And what the fuck is the upper class is doing? What are they doing? It makes no sense. They give you a little bump, but just so that you feel legitimized, and then you don't even have the ability to take it because they took everything else away from you. I'm going to give you an example because I'm rambling a little bit. I'm going to give you an example. In Portugal, you have healthcare, okay? The government has hospitals and other places that you can go. Supposedly your taxes pay for that, okay? And there is a bunch of rights that you have. You have the right to assistance. You have the Manchester triage. So they put you a bracelet in a triage, and you have to be observed within a few hours according to the level of urgency. Anyway, I was in an emergency room with my mother, 84-year-old mother, for 8 hours. 8 hours. There were people there. There was a lady with 96 years old. We were there for so long, the same people with the considered less urgent cases. We were there for 8-9 hours, okay? Nobody would come out. We wouldn't be seen. Nobody would come out to give an explanation. And it was way outside the rules, okay? Because the Manchester triage said that we had to be seen within 1 hour or an hour and a half, or maximum 2. I'm not sure if it's 1.5 and 2, or if it's 1.5. Anyway, 8 hours, and nobody would give us an explanation, okay? So I speak well. Nobody knows if I'm a trust fund kid or not. Well, most of the times. I have a good vocabulary. I speak like this in English. In Portuguese, I speak a little better. I have a good vocabulary. I'm educated. I am not a trust fund kid, by the way. I am the underdog. But I was lucky enough to be able to study, because studying here is different from the United States as well. You have a tuition, but middle class can afford it. My parents, thank God, could afford my tuition, so I studied, and then I could afford my own tuition, and I studied more. So I studied a lot. I speak quite well, and people tend to respect me when I speak politely and with care and with the right arguments and the right words. And so I started first of all, it was from the human point of view. I started seeing who needed what, do you need to eat? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you need to, because nobody else would. And so I started doing that. And in doing so, I started speaking to people. And after a while, we were all speaking to each other. And I asked them, do you think we should ask, for the service chief to come down, for the emergency room chief tonight to come down and give us an explanation, because nobody's talking to us. We spoke to the services and they just said, well, we're doing what we can, and I said, I think we should speak to the management chief, to the emergency room chief tonight. Do you agree? And everybody agreed. And so I asked him to come and speak to us in the name of the room. Well, it took him 2 hours to arrive. And in the moment he arrived, and he had emergencies, and I'm going to believe that, because he's a doctor and he was attending to emergencies. Okay, I'm going to believe that. And when he arrived, unfortunately, or fortunately, because it was a lesson for me, my mother needed to go to the bathroom, so I was in the bathroom with my mother. And when he arrived, I got into the room, coming back from the bathroom, and he had addressed the room already. He spoke to them as if they didn't matter. He didn't even bother to say much. He said, the only cases that are here are the non-urgent, and we're doing what we can. And he was turning around to go away, because then they told me this. He was arrogant. He was dismissive. He didn't give them importance. He didn't even bother to listen to them. I was coming in from behind when people were starting to get ready to jump him. They were screaming, they were talking dirty, they were saying, they were ready to jump him. And I said, whoa, what's going on? I believe I was the one who called you in the behalf of these people. Let's all come down. What's going on? And he spoke to me and he said exactly the same thing. We're doing what we can. The non-urgent cases are the ones that are in the room. And I said, hey, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. Not so. You have rules. You have the triage, the Manchester triage. You have old people here. There are things that you need to address. And if you can't do what is the ruled, then you have to give us an explanation and have a contingency plan. And I told him more. I told him, you can only be a chief, and a chief can only be a chief and accept a position of such importance when you are sure that you can do a good job. And if you can't do a good job, then you don't take that job, okay? And as for the violence, and I told this to the services and I told this to him, as for people being unpolite or being ready to move into other things, other expedients, other resorts, we've been here for 8 hours. So we've been polite, we've asked everybody, we've used the right words, we've used the right channels, and still you dismiss us. So you can't be surprised when people start losing it, okay? Because we can't contain violence and frustration for that long, okay? And this was 8 hours, imagine a lifetime, okay? You can't contain violence for long if people don't feel respected. And in modern societies, I'm sorry to say, many times, many programs, many assistances, many rules are made so that the underdog stays the underdog, and people are not being respected, and humanly they are not being respected. And there is this difference between high classes and low classes. Middle classes is being obliterated, and yes, there will be violence if you don't treat people with respect. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it will happen. Okay? And in the case of Joker, he stumbled upon validation, because nobody's vocation is to be an outcast and the underdog. Nobody's vocation is to be the outcast and the underdog. And the moment you take the power back, the moment you get validation, you're going to follow that. You're gonna stay there. You don't get back to being the underdog voluntarily. And so if I had a gun at some points in my life, maybe I would have killed somebody. I can't say for sure. Even if I'm human and correct and polite and nice. Okay? So I'll answer the question that Joaquin didn't. This movie comes in the right moment. Art is this. It stirs up this conversation. It needs to take place. It needs to take place. That's why the rooms are full. That's why the theaters are full. Okay? And if it ignites violence, you cannot be surprised by that. Don't think that the people that can't contain themselves anymore are such villains. That's why I think Joker is the best villain ever written. Because we've all felt it. We understand him. And this is a brilliant movie. And I was glad to see it. And I think you should see it too. And I'm sorry for speaking so much about my personal life. This is an example of what I was talking about. Give people respect. Give people the same rights as everyone else, even the underdogs. If the triage of Manchester has to work, it has to work. Keep the rules for everybody, and don't make up rules that people can't even follow because they don't have the means, okay? Just remember them, that they are human. We are all one. I don't care if it's in a suit or if you're sleeping on the streets. We are human beings. Treat us with respect, or yes, there will be violence. I hope not. I'm not condoning it, but there will be, because it's inevitable, because at one point people will take their power back if they don't give up, okay? Joker is beautiful. It stirs up this kind of conversation. Please go watch it. And then comment and tell me what you think. I spoke a lot, but I need to speak just a little bit more. I have to give a shout out to Rick and Baker, who's great and been giving me some suggestions. Rick, I haven't seen the movie that you suggested, but I have seen another one that I'm going to talk about it. I didn't bring the clapper, I'm sorry. And I have to give a shout out to DJ Jerry. I share your love of music. I'm going to follow your channel a lot more. Love it. Thank you for your attention and your kind words. Following Rick's suggestion, he said, why don't you at the end of your videos talk about some other movie that isn't in theaters, but that you've seen or that you want to talk about? Well, I've seen one of these nights. I caught it by chance. I didn't know it existed. I saw it on my recording box on TV. It's not Netflix. I don't have Netflix yet, but it's something like that. I can see movies in that were recorded, and it stays there for 7 days, so I can go and see. Oh, let me see what movie I want to see today. And I stumbled across something called Pompeii. The director is Paul W.S. Anderson. It's with Kit Harington, Emily Browning, and Keith Sutherland. If you liked the series Spartacus, you're gonna love this movie. I had lots of fun. It was highly entertaining. It shows you a little bit of the story of Pompeii, at least the big event of Pompeii, and I found it really entertaining. If you liked Spartacus and gladiators and ladies from the Roman time, it's the movie for you. I had lots of fun watching it, and I also recommend it. And thank you for staying for so long. I'm sorry I spoke so much, but I needed to. It's the point of Joker. I think it's why the movies are full, the theaters are full. Tell me what you think. That's the point. Tell me what you think, more than about the movie, about the issues that it raises. I would love to hear from you if you feel like it. Go to the movies.